Francis and Ciryl. Guys, I was at DraftKings today. I got to check the odds, right? And I'm very curious because I feel as though I could guess the odds. I feel like I go, he's going to be a 2-1 favorite. He's going to be 3-1. That one's a blowout. He's 7-1. I feel as though I know, and in all fairness, I'm pretty close. But whatever I feel I know, right, if you know how odds works, it means I'm guessing how you guys feel and where you're placing your money. So I go to DraftKings. Francis is technically the favorite. You're going to hear that coming into this fight. He was a plus 120. Now, I have to tell you, plus 120 to a minus 102 for Ciryl, that's even money. In the world of gambling, if we're doing a broad stroke here, right, I get that there's some decimals that got to be moved, but goddamn, you're close. You're close to talking about a pick'em, and right now Francis is the favorite. Now, I'm coming to you, and we've got, about 6 betting days before this fight goes down, so that could flip. I don't predict that it will. I think Francis will stay the favorite, but I don't think it's going to gain. I think this is that close of a match. And I also think that is stunning to say. If you were to look where we were a year ago, forget that. You don't have to go back a year. If you were to look where we were 8 months ago, Francis Ngannou, who is the scariest fighter in MMA. Debate the topic any way you want. You want to use the moniker scary, it goes to him. He's the most intimidating. To make believe that he was even going to have an opponent that could matter, that wasn't named Jon Jones, or a trilogy fight with somebody named Stipe Miocic, you couldn't make that leap. And we were talking, remember we were working Derek Lewis in there? We're working Derek Lewis in there because Derek has dealt with a scary guy. Derek's awful damn scary himself. They're both big. Derek's already proved he can compete with him, if not beat him. But these were the storylines going into Derek Lewis. But that's how slim the pickings were for fellow opponents. Now, and by the way, that line got done. And even though Derek beat Francis Ngannou, DraftKings, when that was a imaginative fight at one point, but it looked the direction that we were going, Ngannou was a 2-1 favorite over Derek. That's only because of one reason, which is the changes that Ngannou showed in his second fight with Stipe. What better marker could you have to wonder if a guy got better? There's truly not many things you can do more effective than watching a guy at one point compete with a gentleman, in this case Stipe, let 3 years go by of hard work, of training, of sacrifice, of dedication, of growth, of learning, of sport IQ, as they call it, and then have those two guys fight again and just see if the gap's different. Like if Stipe would have beat Francis the second time, but Stipe won 4 rounds instead of 5, or if Stipe was not able to take Francis down, Stipe could have dominated and left with the belt, but we'd still be able to assess Francis and say, okay, there's growth. There's things now that you're doing better than you did before. You're closing the gap on the competition. And that, without winning, we would have been able to do that. Now, the fact that Stipe goes out and fights Francis again, the fact that Francis catches and put him down, okay, great, what a difference a day makes, but we see that in sport all the time. The finish of that fight is not what a handicapper should come away with. Where that fight was interesting was in the very first round, the last minute of the last round, where Stipe went for the shot. He was in as deep as he ever was on the 5 takedowns he had shot on Francis in the first fight and scored all 5 of them. He was as deep as he ever was. Francis used those hips. He popped away. He pushed the head down. He scrambled. He came out on top. That was the moment you could have stopped the fight right there. You could have stopped the fight right there, and we all could have stood back and said, Francis, you have gotten better. You learned from the first fight. You made improvements in the gym. We could stop it right there. If all we were trying to satisfy is who got better. And I only bring that to you because there is still talk out there that Francis with the lucky shot, or that if Francis and Stipe fought again and that one punch didn't land, those things are real. I will adhere to that too, but I will not take the credit away from Ngannou for what he did the night that he won the championship. And it wasn't the big punch. It wasn't even the follow-up to the punch. It was the scramble. It was the effectiveness with the wrestling. It was also a confidence. For you to be able to put your hand and knock somebody out means you have to be within arm's reach. And arm's reach is where nobody wants to fight. If you're ever taking on a great striker, you bring somebody in there and he'll move around and he'll get some minutes and he'll dance a little bit, but he's not within arm's reach. He's in no danger, guys. If you and I get in a fight right now and you say, but Chael, you're the greatest fighter ever. Sure, but if we get in a fight right now, you don't have to have sweaty palms and be puckered up. I can't reach you. If you're not within arm's reach, you're safe. And many people did that. Then they wonder why they couldn't take Cro Cop down. They wonder why they couldn't take Vanderlei down. They wonder why they couldn't take Anderson Silva down. Some of these really great strikers, you can't take them down because you're taking from shots from too far away. There is no fight. If I put my arm out and I can't touch you, we cannot fight. You have to be within arm's reach. But arm's reach isn't just where the strikes land. That's where the wrestler needs to be too. And I only bring that to you because for Francis to land that shot tells you Francis was in arm's reach. For Francis to step within arm's reach of Stipe, a college Division I wrestler who has taken him down 5 times before, it means that Francis' confidence was up. He did work hard in the gym. He was not lying to us. The time that he spent with the Drysdales and the Vinny Maglieshas of the world was real. Him bringing in Kamaru Usman to work on some of the takedowns, Caljak, just by example. Time with Tim Johnson, Roy Nelson, all these things that we heard Francis was doing were real. And he showed it and he proved it. Francis is better. For sure. I feel as though I've convinced you, but I also feel like I can qualify and quantify as to why. We know that he's better. Does that have anything to do with Ciryl? Very fair question, guys. Very fair question by me, because when I talk about Francis looking better in Stipe Part 2, I'm talking specifically about the defense to wrestling. What if Francis has done those same improvements and put that same consideration into offense with wrestling? Now, I haven't seen it. I really haven't even heard any rumors about it. But I grew up wrestling, and I've never been to a practice in my life that is 100% defense with no offense. I've never even heard of such a thing. You could do it. You could manufacture that. I would halfway get it in Francis's case. He's so goddamn scary on his feet. If he can just avoid leaving that dimension, I get it. But I think he's also working on his offense, and that is going to be something totally different for Ciryl to deal with. We all want to sit around and we want to talk about this workout that they had. Francis sat down with Megan Olivi. Now, I must give credit to Megan Olivi. Megan has the respect of the locker room. I have never seen anybody sit with more intimidating individuals and get more out of them, be unafraid to ask the tough questions, do not apologize for it, and get us the information that we need. I've never seen anybody do that as well as Megan. And that's just a respect thing. I used to have that with Megan. I was running my stick, and all of a sudden, hey, Megan here. Okay, the stick's up. Chael's arrived, right? Bad guy's gone. Chael's here. What's happening, Megs? It's one of these things. The athletes like her. And Francis let his guard down. And Francis spoke to us in ways I've never heard him speak. And it was very compelling because for the first time in this entire buildup, we heard Francis's perspective. It had not even dawned on me that we have not heard Francis's perspective. And I'm talking about the training with Ciryl. I'm talking about packing up, getting new gyms. I'm talking about a back and forth with his old coach and mentor, who is now the current coach and mentor of his soon-to-be opponent, Ciryl Gane. We've all decided that Francis was the bad guy. Francis is doing everything wrong. Francis's contract talks. Francis is unhappy. Francis wants to go box. Megan got us to hear Francis's side of it, and it was very different than you would have guessed. Francis was very mature about it. Gave us some details we didn't have. He said the training session with Ciryl Gane, 1 month. The year 2019. And Francis very calmly, there was no arrogance in this. If you're a Francis hater, do not go watch this interview. Francis is going to show you a side of it that I, for one, didn't know existed. It was of just that hungry competitor with that boyish sparkle in his eye that wanted to see a dream come true. And Francis did not have sour grapes. He said many times you have to leave even loved ones. And many times you'll miss them and you'll appreciate them more. But either way, there's times in life you have to move. And this was one of those times in life for me. And he said, yes, I do think that there was an advantage to us working out for Ciryl. I do acknowledge that Ciryl won't be as intimidated. Now, I'm adding words. This wasn't totally Francis, but in this vein, and then he did talk about the X's and O's. Francis knows some stuff that I like to do. Hold the thought, because then Ciryl knows things Francis likes to do. This is Francis talking. Then Francis says, but here's the difference. He knows some things that I'm going to want to do. I know everything that he plans to do. So yes, our sparring might have helped Ciryl. But trust me when I tell you, the advantage comes to me. What does he mean by that? It's halfway, it's somewhat a deep philosophical thought, isn't it, guys? And as I look at that to give my interpretation to what was basically poetry by the champion, I think he's talking about the gains that he's made. I think what he's trying to say, and just didn't want to be unsportsmanlike, is Ciryl is the same guy today as he was then. And he was very good then, but he's the same guy today as he was then. I am not. What I was equipped with when I went and saw him in 2019 is not what I'm equipped with now. We had the same trainer. Trainers only have, right, they've got a very small skill set, and it can be very good, but it's very small. So Francis maintains, I have that skill set because I was with that trainer, but I have new trainers now, and so I also have their small skill set, but that gives me double the skills. I think that's what he's saying. And it was very interesting to hear because that's a fair point. I've always seen this point, Ciryl. Every single thing that I've seen so far, Francis is the bad guy, Ciryl's the good guy. Francis doesn't know what he wants to do next. He doesn't know if he wants to stay with the organization. He's unhappy. His management's in a battle. He wants to go box Fury. They're going to do it in a phone booth with everything's wrong, Francis, until I heard from Francis. Francis is not wrong. Francis is a guy that's working hard. He's got a real dangerous opponent in front of him. He is not willing to concede that this guy knows me and has a leg up. He's saying, I know him just as well, but more because he hasn't evolved. That was powerful for me. I can't prove that Francis is right. That's between those boys when they get in there. DraftKings, because of you guys, has this as pretty even money. Officially, Francis is the favorite, but plus 120. If you're talking to bettors, boy, this is pretty close to even money. And I do think that when people listen and hear what Francis just had to say, if they come to the same interpretation that I did, and they decide they agree with Francis, that whatever gains Ciryl got in that gym training, he stayed in the same room with the same trainer, so he just got those same skills. Francis has left and added to it. I will tell you, by the numbers, that makes sense. It does not mean it's going to be a reality. But logically speaking, by the equation that Francis just laid out, Francis makes a good point. I'm still left with, unless he's upped his grappling to the point that he plans to take Ciryl down, I think we all know what we're going to see, which is we're going to see unified rules MMA bout between two nasty strikers. That's what I think. And I think that you guys agree with me. But there was something within Francis's tone, and there was a sparkle within Francis's eye, that no matter how many of us are saying, oh, this is the one guy, avoid him. Maybe it is a hard fight. I don't have to avoid him. I have to go deal with him. DraftKings has him easy money. I'm here to ask you guys, because we're just going to guess. Let's just put our guesses in. I'll circle back to this and pay it off. But I want to guess with you. Does the line change as the fight gets closer? And if it does, when the fight goes off, is Francis Ngannou still going to be the favorite?